EICMA 2025 just dropped the biggest reveals of the year, and 2026 is shaping up to be a comeback for real motorcycles. Harley, Honda, BMW, Triumph, and Royal Enfield rolled into Milan with engines that reminded everyone why combustion still rules the road. From BMW's new F450 GS to Triumph's Trident 800 and Enfield's Himalayan 750, the classics are roaring back with purpose. Watch till the end. The bike that closed the show shocked everyone. The roar before the reveal. The air inside Fiera Milano hits like a punch of nostalgia and jet fuel. The scent of oil and metal blends with the murmur of thousands of boots scraping across polished floors. 9 exhibition halls stretch across the complex, every one of them vibrating with anticipation. This is EICMA 2025. The stage where the next generation of motorcycles is born and judged by riders who still live for torque, not touchscreens. The lights dim for a moment, then the sound begins. A row of engines crackles to life, echoing off the steel beams above like thunder in a cathedral. Every journalist, dealer, and lifelong rider freezes, phones raised, hearts steadying to that familiar rhythm of combustion. The banners overhead, Harley-Davidson, Honda, BMW, Royal Enfield, Triumph, flare under the spotlights. Each brand is here to prove that the age of fuel, fire, and pistons is far from over. EICMA isn't just another show, it's a proving ground for identity. This year, the tension is thick. The crowd knows the pressure every manufacturer faces. Investors want cleaner image campaigns. But the audience here wants to feel heat through their boots and vibration in their bones. The rumble of each display bike is a defiant statement against silence. By the time the first day ends, cameras are fogged from exhaust haze. People talk in low tones about rumors, new engines, resurrected names, mid-capacity models returning to form. In a world that keeps trying to sterilize the road, EYEK-mah still feels like rebellion wrapped in chrome. But behind those bright banners and booming engines, something deeper is happening. The old giants have come back swinging. The old giants double down. When Harley, Honda, and BMW arrive, the atmosphere changes. These aren't newcomers chasing headlines. These are titans defending a legacy built over decades of grit and grease. Harley's booth glows with orange steel and polished heritage. Whispers spread about a small displacement revival, a nod to the old Sprint lineage. Honda's engineers move with quiet precision, guarding their covered machines like crown jewels. BMW's engineers walk in pressed uniforms, proud of what's rumored to be their boldest adventure lineup yet. There's no talk of batteries or eco-credits here, only displacement, balance, and sound. Harley wants to reconnect with younger riders without losing its veterans. Honda aims to rebuild its dominance in the reliable mid-weight touring market. BMW focuses on versatility, machines that can climb a trail on Saturday and eat highway miles on Sunday. Each brand stands at a crossroads. Evolve without erasing the soul that made riders fall in love in the first place. The stakes are enormous. Harley needs redemption after years of criticism for chasing trends that alienated loyalists. Honda must prove it still understands the comfort and dependability that once defined the Goldwing era. BMW knows the new adventure class is a war zone, and its next GS must defend a throne built on precision and endurance. Around every booth, the conversations sound the same. Can they still build them like they used to? No one is asking about Bluetooth screens or phone pairing. These are riders who measure truth in miles, not marketing. As the veterans show their cards, the numbers begin to leak, and suddenly, the crowd realizes this fight isn't just about heritage anymore. It's about horsepower. If you're enjoying this breakdown and want to stay ahead of what's really coming in 2026, make sure to hit like and subscribe, and let us know in the comments which reveal caught your eye the most. We'll be featuring some of your takes in the next video. Torque Wars 2026. The whispers spread like wildfire through the press center. BMW's new GS engine family, rumored at 1,300 cubic centimeters, reportedly sheds 15 pounds while adding nearly 10% more torque. Across the aisle, Kawasaki showcases the KLE 500, a dual-sport throwback that mixes old simplicity with modern geometry. Everywhere, the message is clear: the arms race is back. This is mechanical one-upmanship at its finest. Brands chase lighter alloys, smarter traction systems, and more responsive throttle maps without surrendering the raw feel that makes a ride memorable. BMW's prototype hums low and confident, its exhaust note sharp and deliberate. Triumph's display flashes the words "Built to Roam," while Kawasaki's engineers grin at the buzz forming around their reborn all-rounder. Riders wander between booths with notebooks and coffee cups, comparing displacement numbers, frame angles, and seat heights. One mechanic from Wisconsin shakes his head and says, "Finally, they're building real bikes again." It feels like 2006 all over again, back when power meant bragging rights and weight reduction was a badge of honor, not a safety measure. EYEK-mah this year isn't about reinvention, it's about reclaiming pride. Every manufacturer wants to remind the world that combustion still has new tricks left. The torque wars of 2026 are already heating up, and each reveal feels like a first shot in a long campaign. Yet while the factories flex their power, the people tasked with selling these machines are feeling the pressure build from a different direction. If you're the kind who rides, not just watches, gear up right. Everything's listed down in the description. Dealers on edge. Away from the spotlights and press photos, the conversations turn serious. Dealers line the cafe areas and hotel bars around Milan, comparing notes. Many have already received partial pricing sheets for the upcoming year. Costs are climbing: steel, shipping, even raw aluminum. Several mention early word of limited production runs for flagship models, meant to control supply and stoke demand. It sounds like a play straight out of the automotive world, and it's making independent dealerships nervous. A Harley distributor from Arizona mutters that his pre-order allocations were cut by a third. A Honda salesman from Ohio says his customers are already putting deposits down sight unseen. BMW representatives hint at longer delivery times due to component sourcing from Asia. Everyone agrees on one thing: demand will be strong, but supply might strangle the excitement. Behind EICMA's glamour, the business runs thin: delays, missing parts, and razor margins. Dealers know hype can't pay rent. Yet despite risks and costs, every engine's roar reignites belief. Real machines, real roads. That's what keeps the motorcycle world's heart beating strong. The Continental Tracker. Adventure bikes dominate more dreams than garages, but this year, BMW and Kawasaki brought that dream within reach again. The BMW F450 GS took center stage as the brand's long-awaited step into the lighter adventure segment. The chatter among journalists called it the Gateway GS, but the engineers just nodded quietly. They knew it was more than a starter machine. This bike was built to be tossed, dropped, and ridden again. Beside it, Kawasaki's KLE 500 stood like an echo from a golden era. A dual-sport revival, it carried just enough old-school charm to make veterans smile. The seat was practical, the line simple, and the engine compact but muscular. Kawasaki's designers said they built it for the real world: less showroom polish, more dust under the tires. Riders leaned close to inspect the suspension, the frame welds, the ergonomics that looked built for 10-hour days. The crowd buzzed with wanderlust, not speed. Dust, chain oil, and dreams filled the air as riders pictured journeys from Milan to Morocco, Rockies to Smokies. The F450 GS and KLE 500 proved adventure is measured in miles, not power. Retro thunder returns. Royal Enfield always draws a crowd, not because of surprise, but because of memory. The unveiling of the Himalayan 750 proved that nostalgia still sells, especially when it's paired with genuine performance. The bigger displacement brought more grunt to an already loved platform, and the design kept its simplicity intact. Chrome glinted under the lights as cameras flashed, but what stood out wasn't shine, it was purpose. Enfield didn't build this for influencers. They built it for riders who still use their bikes as tools for living. Right beside it, Moto Morini quietly revived another legend, the Kanguro 350. The name dates back decades, but this modern interpretation felt alive, not recycled. The compact single-cylinder engine gave it character that most small displacement bikes forget to include. It wasn't trying to compete on sheer numbers. It wanted to make the rider feel every vibration through the pegs and bars. The crowd that gathered wasn't full of spec sheet readers. It was old-school riders who knew the difference between style and soul. The Kanguro's imperfect lines and the Himalayan 750's proud heritage stood as defiance against sameness. On EICMA's floor, tradition roared alive, proof that progress means nothing without roots, and true craftsmanship, done right, never really dies or fades. And just when purists thought price tags had gone insane, one final pair of contenders reminded the crowd that performance and practicality can still ride on the same road. The middleweight miracle. By the time CF Moto revealed its 1,000 cubic centimeter V4 concept, the crowd was running on caffeine and adrenaline. No one expected it to sound that good. The moment the test cell fired, a deep growl rolled across the hall, smooth but feral. CF Moto called it their next leap into serious territory, a challenge aimed squarely at Europe and Japan. The bike promised balance between race-bred power and real-world reliability, a machine built for riders who wrench on Sundays and ride on Mondays. Across the hall, Honda's booth drew quieter respect. Their new CB400 stood like a tribute to their own history, a direct descendant of the classic Super 4, rebuilt for the modern commuter who still appreciates mechanical honesty. The chrome was understated, the proportions perfect, the design deliberately human. It wasn't flashy, it was faithful. Riders leaned close, nodding at the familiar lines and the promise of bulletproof reliability. CF Moto proved performance isn't just for the wealthy, while Honda reminded riders that refinement still matters. Together, they offered middle-class buyers hope that real craftsmanship and pride of ownership can still thrive below luxury prices without compromise or pretension. As the final lights dimmed in Fiera Milano, journalists packed up their gear and riders filed toward the exits. The show may have ended, but the aftershock was only beginning. Voices from the floor. When the dust settled and the echo of engines faded, what remained was conversation. The crowd at EYEK-mah turned from shouting to murmuring. Journalists scribbled quick takes, mechanics leaned on railings, and riders stood in clusters replaying the day in their minds. It wasn't hype anymore, it was reflection. People were talking about machines that mattered again. The phrase most repeated through the aisles was the same one heard in 100 different accents. Finally, real bikes again. The new Triumph Trident 800 earned quiet admiration. The BMW F450 GS drew nods from adventure veterans who'd seen every fad come and go. It wasn't just about horsepower or specs, it was about authenticity. These bikes felt built for riders, not algorithms. Milan roared with rebirth, yet doubts lingered. Would politics, prices, or compromise steal that pulse before rubber met road? Dealership reality check. A week after the show, the energy shifted from Milan's bright halls to the quieter hum of showrooms across the world. Excitement turned into phone calls, and phone calls turned into waiting lists. Dealers fielded a flood of inquiries before most even knew their official allocations. Some customers were ready to put down deposits without a single test ride, just to be first in line. In the Midwest, Harley shops reported customers calling about the rumored small displacement revival. In California, Honda dealerships had lists stretching 3 pages long for the CB400. BMW centers in Texas and Florida said their first shipments of F450 GS models were already spoken for. Yet under all the enthusiasm, dealers voiced familiar frustrations. Rising import costs and scarce supply pushed MSRPs higher, turning excitement into strain. And by the time bikes hit showrooms, Milan's dream collided head-on with Main Street's cold, uncompromising invoice reality. Meanwhile, in the factories, the next wave was already forming, quietly, methodically, and with more precision than ever before. Before you go, make sure you're subscribed. The biggest reveals from Milan are only the beginning, and we're tracking every update, delay, and hidden spec as they unfold. Inside the assembly line, step inside any modern motorcycle plant and you'll find a rhythm that's almost musical. Conveyor lines hum, robotic arms weld in perfect synchrony, and teams of workers move with practiced focus. In these places, the future of every bike unveiled in Milan is taking shape one frame at a time. But behind the machinery, there's a story about balance, between automation and craftsmanship, between speed and soul. In Thailand, where Honda produces much of its global mid-weight lineup, local engineers are still taught the art of hand finishing. Even with machines handling the heavy lifting, every unit passes through human inspection before it earns its badge. In India, Royal Enfield's factories mix new CNC precision with a tradition of manual assembly that gives their bikes that distinct, familiar character. Over in Germany, BMW continues to hand-measure engine tolerances on key models, a detail few customers ever notice, but one that riders swear they can feel at full throttle. Supply chains strain and delays linger, yet pride endures. No robot matches a craftsman's touch or the instinct behind each bolt. Machines build faster, but only human hands give motorcycles soul, the silent truth beneath every showroom gloss and corporate promise. Machines may weld the frames, but the soul still comes from human hands, and those hands belong to riders wrestling with a question only they can answer. The heart versus head battle. Every rider faces that internal debate, the pull of nostalgia versus the logic of progress. The EYEK-mah machine stirred that battle in full force. Riders who grew up on carburetors and air-cooled engines found themselves admiring liquid-cooled precision. Those who once swore off anything under 1,000 cubic centimeters were suddenly eyeing the mid-weight category with respect. The head said, modern efficiency. The heart said, old-school spirit. A retired mechanic from Pennsylvania summed it up perfectly. I want something that rides like the old ones, but I'm tired of rebuilding carbs every spring. That sentence echoed the cultural crossroads unfolding across the riding world. The veterans crave connection, while the next generation craves convenience. Somewhere between them lies the real future of motorcycles. Milan's revivals, the Himalayan 750, Trident 800, and CB 400, proved memory fuels progress. Yet riders feel torn. The heart craves imperfection and soul. The head demands comfort and range. True balance lives where chaos meets control and legacy endures. In the end, every rider must decide what matters more, heritage or horizon. For many, that answer comes not from a spec sheet or price tag, but from the first time they twist the throttle and feel that spark of freedom. That feeling is what no technology can replace. The counter moves. The engines may have cooled in Milan, but boardrooms across the world are heating up. Harley-Davidson, Suzuki, and a handful of others are already plotting their next plays for 2027. It's no longer just about who builds the fastest bike. It's about who can hold on to the heart of real riders while surviving the tightening noose of modern regulation and global cost. What's unfolding feels less like a product cycle and more like a strategic chessboard, each brand moving carefully, anticipating the other's gambit. Harley's leadership, after years of criticism for chasing the wrong markets, is rumored to be doubling down on what they call the core American ride. Sources close to their development arm whisper about a refined touring platform, one that combines the weight and torque of old with updated ergonomics designed for aging riders who still log serious miles. The smaller displacement Sprint 350 project is moving forward too, aimed squarely at new license holders and international markets where the Harley badge still carries mythic status. Suzuki readies a revived V-Strom to prove reliability still inspires passion. while Triumph, BMW, and Kawasaki refine their steel-born rivals. The combustion wars aren't over, they're evolving, driven not by marketing, but by the timeless pursuit of that first throttle twist feeling of freedom. But the next battle won't be fought in show halls. It's already being written in the fine print of government regulations. Regulation crosswinds. Beyond the chrome and glory, every manufacturer faces the same invisible opponent: emissions law. The Environmental Protection Agency and the tightening Euro 5+ standards have turned engineering into diplomacy. What was once a test of horsepower is now a test of compliance. For Harley, Honda, Suzuki, and the rest, every design choice must pass through layers of environmental scrutiny before it ever touches a showroom floor. These laws aren't small tweaks, they're massive cost drivers. Each stage of compliance adds fees, testing, and new equipment. The factories must adjust tooling, suppliers must deliver new catalytic components, and dealers must train staff to handle the changes. By the time a motorcycle reaches the buyer, that burden translates directly into price. Riders often grumble about why their favorite touring rig costs $2,000 or $3,000 more than the last model year. The truth lies in the paperwork and lab tests hidden behind the scenes. Smaller brands like Moto Morini and CF Moto fight to keep their engines growl alive under strict emissions and noise laws. As Europe finds louder bikes, identity fades. Factories absorb some pain, but rising costs still drain dealers and loyal riders alike. And that's before the global economy takes its cut, reshaping how and when these machines actually reach the people who crave them. Global ripples. In today's world, building a motorcycle isn't the hardest part, getting it delivered is. Global logistics remain a storm of unpredictable currents. Currency fluctuations, shipping backlogs, and raw material shortages all collide to decide what lands in showrooms and what sits idle in warehouses. The excitement from Milan in late 2025 might not translate to actual bikes on American streets until well into 2026. The container shortage that started years ago hasn't fully eased. Freight costs have risen, and smaller manufacturers are forced to compete for space against giants who can pay premiums. Steel prices swing monthly. Rubber costs climb as production struggles in Southeast Asia. Even simple parts, spark plugs, bolts, fuel pumps, now face shipping delays. It's a quiet crisis most riders never see, but dealers live it daily. Currency swings and shifting taxes raise prices overnight, leaving dealers scrambling and riders waiting. Yet through delays and rising costs, loyalty holds. True riders endure because what they're buying isn't convenience, it's authenticity, the mechanical truth no digital substitute can replace. Through it all, one truth keeps riders grounded, a belief that no matter what changes, the real connection between man and machine will never fade. Back to the garage. When the noise fades and the headlines cool, every rider ends up in the same place, the garage. It's quiet there, just the ticking of cooling metal and the faint smell of old oil on concrete. This is where truth lives, far from marketing campaigns and showroom promises. Here, every scratch tells a story, every mod speaks of a moment when the rider decided to make the bike his own. No press conference can recreate that feeling of a Saturday morning tune-up or the ritual of wiping down chrome after a long ride. That intimacy between rider and machine is what makes motorcycling different from anything else. It's not just transport, it's companionship built from grease and grit. In a world chasing automation, that connection feels almost rebellious. The garage reminds us why we care. It's the carburetor's rhythm, the wrench's weight, the pride of fixing what we ride. Despite rising costs and rules, riders still gather, wave, and ride for one reason. It's not transport, it's identity, it's freedom. So there it is, the best new 2026 motorcycles straight from EYEK-mah 2025. Some are real game changers, others still need to prove they've got the guts. Either way, combustion's not dead. It's fighting back. What do you think, brother? Which reveal hit you hardest? The Trident, the GS, or that new Enfield? Drop your thoughts down below. I read every comment. If you love real bikes, real sound, and real talk, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next breakdown's coming fast.